Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold, Clark, Barry Ferguson, Tam McManus and Alan Rough. Here with me yet again to talk football with you for the next hour. Depending on the arguments, we like to try and keep it to an hour, but every now and then, sometimes we stretch over it. You can tell when we're going beyond an hour because Roughie's face gets angrier and angrier as he realises his dinner is being burnt. But nevertheless, Tam's here. He's wearing his new Barcelona top that he's purchased and it's been delivered. He obviously washed the packaging, then took it out, and it looks fantastic, Tam. Are you happy with that?
Oh, I'm delighted with it, Peter. Wee Barca talk. I've seen Barry with all his Nike stuff, and I've been a wee bit jealous, so I thought I'd have to join the party.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, there are sporting companies as well as Nike. I just thought I'd point that out to everyone. Roughie's here with me. We've got lots to talk about. You'd think the fighting would stop within the SPFL at some point. Not a bit of it. We've got more on the way after we give you today's quiz. Okay, that's today's question. The answer to the quiz, not yesterday, but the day before, was Patrick Vieira, by the way. I just thought I'd tell you that because we missed yesterday's quiz, Roughie, because quite simply, the arguments were unbelievable. The statements that were being released and the passion that was displayed newsfeed was incredible. Everybody was arguing, Roughie.
Yeah, they certainly were. There's enough to be going on about as well. You know, unfortunately, there is more important things we should be talking about than some of the stuff we were doing yesterday. But you've got to discuss them. They're out there for everybody, and it's just growing arms and legs as we go along here.
Yeah, absolutely. So here is latest release that's come out, and that is quite simply from Murdo McLennan, the SPFL chairman. Now, he hasn't held back with regards to some of the points that he wants to get across with all the arguing that's going on. Murdo McLennan says 8 of the 9 members of your board of directors believe the demand for such an open-minded, hugely time-consuming and expensive investigation to be wholly unnecessary, inappropriate and contrary to the interests of the company. At this hugely challenging time, distractions, scapegoating and sideshows are our enemy. It is for you, the member clubs, to decide whether you wish the time of our staff and board members and your money to be spent on the exercise now sought by Hearts, Rangers and Stranraer, without Rangers having made available to the company or to SPFL clubs any of the evidence which they claim is in their possession. I sincerely hope your board of directors can rely on your support so we can be allowed to focus on helping all clubs survive rather than spending extensive and unproductive time and expense on rebutting unknown allegations. Now, that's basically the meat and bones of it. Over and above that, in the Q&A, 3,500 words. Murdo McLennan also said that issuing loans to multiple clubs was unrealistic. So he clarified that position. He said the SPFL shouldn't have placed a Friday 5 o'clock deadline on the ballot response. So he admits there were mistakes made. They would have been accused of unwarranted secrecy by the media had they not declared the votes that evening. This is, of course, everybody moaning about how we knew how everyone was voting. They were fully entitled and can hardly be criticised for accepting the view of the overwhelming majority because, of course, it was 80%. Many calls were made to many clubs between the vote being called and Dundee's final submission, but that is entirely normal practice and that he sees nothing wrong whatsoever with board members lobbying clubs. The SPL should have expressed concern and regret for the relegated Partick Thistle and Stranraer, so that is clearly something they feel they got wrong. However, they had to take a decision to prevent possibly dozens of clubs going to the wall. Now, calls would have been lobbying would have taken place, as we all suggested at the time. But Roughie, they've admitted they've made a few mistakes, but certainly in Murdo McLennan's mind, there wasn't any wrongdoing or impropriety.
Well, that's what obviously the 3 other people want to really take further. I mean, they've definitely covered all ground there of everything that we all wanted to know, and they seem to have thrown it out there for everybody. But unless Rangers and Hearts and Stranraer have got something else, this is a waste of time. There's no doubt about that, because the stuff that he's throwing out there, we all can get our heads round, and we all want to move on. So we have to imagine that these three clubs have something else, and if they have something else, then you have to have a look at it. It's okay. It's okay him saying, and wrong. So let's see if they have done anything or something else, not anything else that was on that statement there just now.
Well, the be all and end all of this, and I would love to. Well, I know that the Deloitte investigation obviously looked at calls that were made, emails that were passed. They were investigating all the timescale on this as well, Barry. I would love to have been privy, and I don't think we'll ever be privy to it, but I'd love to have been privy to the exact conversations that were taking place between board members, chief executives, lawyers, to explain situations, to talk to various chairmen and chief executives who were about to pass their vote. Remember, nobody would have had a gun held to their head, Barry, and said, you must vote this way. But I'd love to have been able to listen to some of those calls.
Yeah, Peter, I was thinking that myself today when I read the statement that came out for the SPFL chairman. Look, I'll go back on it, and Rangers, Hearts and Stranraer have got to have good here, because it's dragging on, and I think most people are getting a bit sick of talking about it. So see now, let's get the cards on the table and see what they've got, whether it be a whistleblower or something's went on behind the scenes. Let's get it out and get it sorted. Look, I read the statement in full. I agree where I think 48 hours was far too quick for people.
Yeah, we just seem to have lost a wee bit of Barry there. We'll try and get back to him on that, but I get the gist of what Barry was trying to say there, Tam McManus. And basically, the SPFL chairman, Murdo McLennan, has admitted they've made mistakes. They should have actually said, look, you've got the 28 days. But I think the feeling was, if the full 28 days was exercised, that would really drag it on and deny people the money. They have gone on to say, Tam, that the whole is a red herring on this one.
Yeah, listen, there's more important things. I agree with Barry. It's really dragging on now. It's getting boring for me. Listen, why should any organisation accept accusations of bias and incompetence from another club without any evidence? You've got to. They've asked for suspensions of the CEO of the SPFL. Back it up, and if you want an investigation, you pay for it. Why should it come out of other clubs' pockets or the SPFL's pockets? If Rangers are wanting an independent investigation, Hearts, Stranraer, they should pay for it then, because this is going to drag out for months, and months and months, and clubs are going to the wall. Clubs are struggling to survive. There might not have any clubs left by the time this investigation is conducted and been finished. So for me, there is far more important things to be worrying about than an investigation. A public mudslinging match between Rangers and SPFL is doing nobody any favours. And I'm getting bored of it, to be honest. If Rangers have got something, and they must have something explosive to keep dragging this out, then just come out with it. Come out and put it cards on the table.
I think Murdo McLennan has actually looked and questioned what the agenda is from Rangers. But again, I stress here, Roughie, Rangers, like any other club, have every right to call for an investigation if they have evidence which they believe suggests coercion, bullying, wrongdoing, impropriety.
They should pay for it.
Well, the point here, Tam, is, and I'm sure a better legal mind would come on and say, look, this is within the organisation, and the rules would state that any club who feels as if the process followed has been compromised, then by the rules they can call for the investigation, as the SPFL rules will undoubtedly state, if they think there is wrongdoing. So the matter of one club paying for it, I think, would be contested. What I think will happen here, Roughie, is I think, I read a Daily Record quote today saying that if 3 or 4 clubs vote by proxy not to go ahead with this. There's no point in everybody getting together on the EGM on the 12th of May because it would be scuppered. So it might be that proxy votes kill it off before it even gets underway, this EGM of all 42 clubs. But I would suggest to you that I'm almost certain that if Rangers don't get their way in an independent investigation, I think they'll try and go through the courts.
Yeah, but I think, Peter, and reading the lines and reading what you're reading as well, I think there's a lot of tactical manoeuvring going on here. Obviously, that statement released from the SPFL is a tactical remover to put doubt into some clubs to get an early vote. The proxy votes, if the votes are supposed to be, is it the 11th or 12th of May? Let it be the 11th or 12th of May. Why are people voting early? Why are we allowing people to vote? Let's see the evidence out there. I don't know whether Rangers will release this evidence earlier now to sort of counteract what the SPFL have done. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's just all to and fro with me now. Everybody's covering their own back in this one. And we keep going back to the statement. Rangers have to have something. If this is a trivial thing with trivial stuff, it's going to make Rangers look rather foolish in this whole thing. So it has to be, serious. And I asked you yesterday, did that mean that Hearts and Stranraer have seen the evidence that Rangers have got? That doesn't seem to be the case. I think the boy for Stranraer said, I'm not privy to what's in that Rangers statement. All I want is some answers to questions that we all want to know, so they still don't know what Rangers have got. So until we actually see the evidence and the hard evidence of what Rangers have got, then we can all move on with this or dismiss it.
Peter, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is Rangers' end game in this? I mean, you're saying they could, if they don't get an independent inquiry, they'll drag it through the courts. What is their end game to prove that the SPFL are incompetent? I think everybody knows the SPFL are incompetent. What else is it they're looking for? Are they looking for the head of Doncaster, or McLennan, or are they looking for something else? I don't see what the end game is for Rangers in all this. I'll just ask you the question. What do you think?
Hold on a second, and I would say to you, first and foremost, I'm trying to keep a balance here because I think we're in danger at times of some people jumping on every word, and it's a minefield. Rangers have every right to call for an investigation because they think they have evidence. I think the problem for all of us is, trying to work out an end game is, or what's their motivation behind it, is we're kind of jumping two steps ahead. Some of us have suggested maybe they've called for the suspension of Neil Doncaster and Rod McKenzie. Now that suggests that the impropriety is based solely with those two. So that's the first thing. So do they want their heads or someone to go because they've not acted properly? And if they do, and you would suggest at this point it's one of these two people, then if they do, they have to provide rock solid evidence that will allow the SPFL clubs to say, you as a figurehead, and remember he is a figurehead, he is not the driving force in the power. He's a figurehead representing the clubs. He can advise in his chief executive role, and of course he can engage the clubs and get their thoughts on things. Neil Doncaster. I wouldn't like to speculate that there is an ongoing long, grudge going back to the 2012 situation with Rangers at the moment. At the end of the day, we're looking at it fairly and squarely. They want an investigation because they think he's acted improperly, and possibly Rod McKenzie as well. We have to wait and see what their evidence is. And if it's rock solid, as Roughie said, then it stands up. I can't tell you, and I'm only going to point this out now. Neil Doncaster was speaking on Sky Sports not too long ago, and he said, if people have allegations they wish to make, then they should have the courage to bring them forward to the chairman and let them be investigated. It's absolutely right and proper that any allegations are brought forward and to the attention of the chairman so they can be investigated. It's just not acceptable for these vague assertions to be made without anything being brought forward. We've got demands for suspension of myself and another trusted employee of the SPFL without any clarity as to what we've alleged to have done wrong. I just don't find that acceptable at all. In terms of relationships, we exist to serve all 42 member clubs. We're an entirely democratic members organisation, and it's the right of the 3 clubs to call for an EGM, which I've just mentioned to you, Tam. As a result, the board have put that EGM in place on May 12th. And if the 42 member clubs decide they want our time and their money spent on this exercise, then that is their democratic right, which is what I mentioned to you, Roughie. I would say 8 out of 9 in the SPFL board members feel that it's wholly inappropriate and not good use of money, and we should be pulling together to fight the common enemy that is COVID-19. I feel all of us have acted with integrity and acted with the best interests of all 42 clubs as a whole at the forefront of our minds. We've done what we can under time pressure in circumstances where we know clubs are crying out for clarity and money, and they want the games to return. We all want the situation to move on. We all want games to be played, and we'd far rather be talking about football than all of these matters. So that, as you can tell by the tone of it, is an irked Neil Doncaster, Tam.
Yeah, listen, we spoke about it earlier. We just covered all those things. I think it's poor on him. There's accusations in the press. There's a lot of things getting said about Neil Doncaster, and he's quite right to come out and defend himself. If you've got evidence of wrongdoing for him, calling for his suspension, come out and give it to the public, and give it to the clubs, because then they can make a decision, make a mind up. So I think he's well within his rights to come out and defend himself. I also agree that there's to go and waste money on this when clubs are starving, could possibly go to the wall. I think it's not the best use of funds. But as he said, it's democratic right. If the clubs vote for it, then we all have to abide and go with the investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that, as per the rules of the SPFL, which I've no doubt are in place, Roughie, people have to actually put the bill. That'll be spread across all the clubs if they go down this road. And by the way, I don't think Rangers, Hearts or Stranraer, Roughie, should be pressured into saying, oh, well, we don't want to cost all the clubs money, so we're not going to do it. If they've got evidence, then go ahead and produce it. I don't agree with anybody saying, oh, well, you're costing the clubs money if there is rock solid evidence. But I would really like them to produce that to get us to move on to the next stage without this mudslinging with no real confidence from anybody in what the evidence is yet.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Peter. If there is money to be laid out and it does prove that there is something to look into, then it'll be money well spent. But if it isn't money well spent, then people quite rightly will want to have questions to be answered of why we've been spent this money when it's been a trivial instance. I just feel that the proxy vote thing now. I don't even think we'll get the 12th of May, because obviously if they get in information that there's a lot of people not happy with it or want to go through it, then we won't get to the end of anything. And I'm sure we all want to know something. I'm only going. The bottom line is nobody knows what Rangers have got. The only things I've read are that Rangers weren't happy that they lodged a resolution that get kicked out. They're not happy about that. I can understand why that is. Another thing I read was allegedly somebody on that committee had said something about Rangers 2 or 3 years ago. If that's something, they think is a massive thing that has got to be dealt with, it's things like that, then I keep saying it. It's not going to. People are not going to look kindly towards the people who are bringing these accusations if that's all they are. Trivial things that we've got to go over.
Yeah, but hold on a minute, and just obviously I'm aware, and I think it's only right and proper that we try and highlight this to stick within the facts, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of people on here who clearly want to just pick little sound bites rather than listen to the broader picture on this. And I would say that Rangers' displeasure with Murdo McLennan, an association with a company that he worked for, is not in the issue here. So I take that one out, Roughie. The other one you were talking about, what was the other part of this about that you mentioned?
The resolution when they put in and there was a word wrong in a word and then it got thrown out. They didn't.
But the resolution, the SPFL are well within the rights to say, look, this won't pass because here is the wording on it. So go back and resubmit it.
Yeah, but that's what we're doing, Peter. Now we're not guessing. We're now guessing what these things are because there's nothing
Yeah,
clear out there for
but
anybody to get their head round.
Yeah, but I think we have to deal with two issues here. And I think Fiona Docherty, who's just sent us a message on Facebook, says, how do you know money will be wasted if there has been wrongdoing? And Fiona, I think you make a good point there, because what we're saying on this show is nobody, because of either your displeasure, your dislike, or whatever, I'm not interested in anybody who hates another club. I'm trying to keep this as squarely in the middle as possible. I don't want anybody to be guilty of bias here on this. We're trying to deal with the facts, which is quite simply, Barry, if Rangers have evidence and they want an investigation, I still think the only grey area here is we don't know the evidence. Get it out there and then let everybody vote to say that's worthy of an investigation. That's the biggest problem for everybody here. Fiona's right. If everybody has to pay for it and Rangers are proved to be correct, then it's worthwhile money being spent if there's wrongdoing, Barry.
Yep, listen, Peter, Rangers have got every right to want an investigation if they believe what they have as evidence is strong enough to go in front of the SPFL. Now, I wouldn't like to think that it's kind of nothing here that Rangers have got. Rangers are obviously staying firm and adamant that what they have is good enough to go ahead and pressure the SPFL with. So, look, it's not just Rangers. Every other club in the SPFL, if they didn't think something was right, they had every right to go and do something about it. So, look, we just need to wait and see what Rangers have, but it must be something severe if Rangers are continuing to go ahead with it. And as I said, they've got every right if they believe in that, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have just joined us, welcome along to the football show. Neil Doncaster was speaking not too long ago and clearly wants Rangers to reveal that evidence. Murdo McLennan, the SPFL chairman, has come out with a statement over the last 24 hours, which basically highlights various things that he openly admits the SPFL got wrong. Maybe the way they phrased it, they should have been apologising to the likes of Partick Thistle and Stranraer and shown a little bit more compassion there. Makes no apology whatsoever for people talking, explaining what the situation is, lobbying, if you want to call it that. It's certainly not against SPFL rules if you explain the situation. And some chairman, Tam, needed the explanation of what was at stake. Without the loans in the equation, some people needed the whole thing, the bigger picture, to be explained to them as well. That's not lobbying. That's telling them what exactly is on offer here.
Listen, the SPFL have come out and cleared up a lot of things. You know, it was a 4,000 word, essay, so to speak, Q&A. And listen, they've came out and have explained a lot of stuff that people were asking. You know, supporters were asking in terms of the loans. You know, the loan issue, everything that came about with the SPFL, they came out and explained. Rangers are still looking into that, and no doubt they'll highlight some of the stuff that has been written in there and take it as evidence. But listen, I just think now's the time to move on. For me, listen, if Rangers have got it, get it out now. You know, I think the time to get it out was last week. You know, to be honest, I think they're too late now. I think they're really, they're dragging this out, and it's not doing anybody any good. As I said earlier, clubs are starving. Clubs need money. You know, there's reconstruction. You know, teams could possibly be relegated. You know, teams could possibly come into the SPFL. There's so much more to concentrate on rather than, as I said earlier, a public mudslinging match over who's right and who's wrong in this.
George Donaldson.
Peter, what I will say in terms of the loan, I was a bit angry that they weren't giving the loans out, but he explained that actually 7 or 8 years ago he gave Gretna the loan, and obviously they went into liquidation. So now I kind of understand why they weren't wanting to give the loans out until obviously the vote had come through. So that was one of the gripes I had with them. And to be honest with you, when I read it, I fully understand why the loans weren't given.
Yeah, I think, and by the way, again, just because one party at one end says something, it's not to be taken as set in stone. Well, that's it, finished. You can't question it after someone's stated. Whether it's Murdo McLennan or Neil Doncaster or someone else, we can only give you what they're saying, and then we try and question it. What I would say, Roughie, is the apparent red herring that Murdo McLennan was mentioning, which was the loans, if anything, and we all know this from companies and going to the bank, if anything, the loan system would have been long, drawn out, problematic, looking for guarantors and securities. And for every club to go through that process could have taken longer than 28 days. It may well have been a long drawn out affair, which would have cost clubs. And I don't think that the SPFL board stated that that wasn't in the best interest of the clubs. And I think a lot of them agreed with that.
Yeah, I think all the statements that the SPFL are handing out here are obviously the right things to say, and they're saying all the right things. They're ticking all the right boxes, that they haven't done anything wrong. That's why we keep saying, what have Rangers got? They've covered everything. They've covered the loans. They've covered the way the voting slips went. They've covered everything that we all want to know about. So what is there out there that we don't know about? It has to be something else that we haven't even discussed.
Yeah,
and
well,
I think Peter, them throwing out there, if you take this any further, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I don't hear anybody asking the questions. Who paid for the Deloitte investigation? How much did that cost?
Well, the clubs have to pay for it, Roughie. The clubs have
No,
to pay for
it. Who paid for the Deloitte one? For the internal one that the SPFL did themselves?
Well,
and
if
Deloitte
Karen,
did it.
have you finished? If Karen McCusker, who's a non-executive on the SPFL board, submitted an invoice, the clubs have to pay for it. So that's the first thing. The Deloitte, and she was the independent person who was given the task of looking at all the evidence. If they submitted an invoice for it, we could obviously phone them and check, but their time will have been used and they will have had to have paid them.
But the clubs never asked for that. The clubs never asked for that independent. The SPFL took it upon themselves to hire Deloitte to look into an investigation.
Yeah, but I think the board at that point realised that there was basically an argument brewing here that suggested that Rangers were calling for suspension of Neil Doncaster and Rod McKenzie. So the SPFL quickly, and they must have agreed it at boardroom level, to say, look, we must do this, we must conduct this investigation to try and allay fears and set the record straight. The point here, Roughie, is that's not good enough for Rangers. So they want an independent investigation out with anybody within the SPFL, which is their right. And I think the clubs will pay for it again. Now, again, best everyone here, the rights of people in a democracy to actually say something has happened which is wrong, I want it checked, is fine. It's great. I don't buy into it's going to cost everybody a lot of money, so you shouldn't do it. If Rangers want it, do it. But please give the evidence out so everybody can see what you're alleging in this whole affair. I think that's the only thing that I think a lot of fans on here are mentioning that to us. But to get into any sort of bias or, a dispute on this programme about it, I think is... And Michael Hughes is a classic case. Peter makes too many excuses for the board. Michael, again, this is why we do it, to try and satisfy people like you that don't listen to what we're saying. We're basically reading out press releases and comments made by Neil Doncaster and Murdo McLennan in the last 24 hours. Michael, if you want to listen to your favourite club talking, go to Club TV. This programme's not for you. We are reading statements that have come out and then offering our opinion on that. Nobody's making an excuse for the SPFL board. We're explaining to you the situation from Rangers' perspective, Hearts and Stranraer calling the EGM, and the SPFL. We're not making it up. We're not making excuses for them. We're giving you the facts, and if you don't like it, go to Club TV and wave your flag. So the point here is quite simply that this has rumbled on, Tam, to the point of exhaustion when everybody else seems to be now forgetting that Fraser Wishart's just come out and said if they don't get back to football soon, there's a train crash coming. Roy McGregor has just said he doesn't expect to see fans in the grounds until Christmas. Now, I don't know about you, but that spells disaster for me, regardless of what Rangers, Hearts and Stranraer are doing.
Yeah, Peter, that's what I was alluding to earlier. There's far bigger things to worry about. You know, there's an impending financial Armageddon, you know, in all of football, but in Scottish football in particular. Scottish football clubs, you know, they rely on season ticket sales, they rely on people coming through the gate. You know, they could potentially go 6 or 7 months without anybody coming into the games. I mean, I don't know how you can survive that. So that is something we've got to look at closely, along with the Scottish Government and the SPFL, the SFA, the clubs, everybody getting together around a table and finding a way to survive, rather than what we're getting just now. And there's so much time and resource and money going to be wasted on this investigation. You know, and for me, there's, as I said, there's so much more bigger things to worry about. And I worry for clubs. You know, clubs could be waiting for this investigation to finish and could actually be out the game, could go to the wall. So let's get our own house in order first.
My opinion is I'm all for the investigation now, Roughie, if the evidence is produced.
Yeah, I think the statement today and the proxy vote thing has probably forced Rangers' hand a wee bit. I don't think Rangers can afford people to be making proxy votes without seeing the evidence. It could scupper everything. So I think in the next couple of days we will see that Rangers what they've got. I think they need to show their hand now because I don't think it will go to the 12th of May.
The other point here, which again has come out, apart from Roy McGregor suggesting that Barry fans won't be in the grounds until Christmas, we have Dr. Michael Dooge, who is part of FIFA, who says football shouldn't be contemplated as a return before September. That's the actual game getting back in. And off the back of that as well, I'm reading today that they reckon that it could cost, for example, just as a speculative figure, £150,000 per club to actually conduct tests over a period of time if football were to return and only 400 people were allowed in the grounds.
Yeah, Peter, I watched that interview with the Chief Medical Officer of FIFA, and it's worrying. And I'll go back to what Tam was saying, part-time clubs especially. For me as a manager, Peter, I wouldn't want my players coming in together in training unless they were tested. I couldn't take that chance. And as you just mentioned there, the kind of money you're talking about, there is no hope in hell that we would be able to afford that. No way. So there's far too many chances, Peter. I've said it for the word go. There's not going to be any football. This virus is under control, and we've got a way of getting it under control. So until then, there can't be any football played, even behind closed doors. I'm listening every day. I'm watching every day. These top medical specialists are saying things on TV which I think people are not even listening to. Now, for me, no football until September time.
Yeah, possibly longer. Pedro Moore said...
Peter, to get back to the Fraser Wishart thing.
Roughie, I don't know why you're holding your mic up. It doesn't work.
All right. These two guys will back me up here. That this time of the year is the worst time of the year for a professional football player who's coming out of contract. You don't know whether your club is going to give you another extension or whatever. It's a horrible, horrible time. And with the situation we're in just now, I was reading the papers the other day. There's some clubs have got 12, 15, 20 players out of contract. Now, clubs will be sitting going, right, our finances are hit. We're not going to have a lot of money. Do we need him? Do we need him? Guys that they might again another year or whatever will be getting released. That is the worst scenario is going to happen here. There's going to be loads of players who might have got another year, won't be getting that other year.
Well, it's a very good point you make. Hearts have just agreed. Hearts, in the last 24 hours, have agreed 10 to 30% wage reduction. Now, Hearts have stated that there will not be a double dunt with more penalties if they go down, if they are eventually relegated in the expansion to the league. So that's fine for Anne Budge and the Hearts board to say that to those players. But as Roughie mentioned there, if players are getting their wages cut and then they hit the summer, they could just be left up. They could just be thrown out. You know, if their contracts are up, there's 60%. Roy McGregor mentioned the other day there, and Fraser Wishart's highlighted it. something like 60% of players will be wondering what their future holds in Scotland in the summer.
Peter, it's a great point that Roughie makes. You know, I've been in that situation, you know, plenty of times in the summer. You're out of contract, you're scrambling about for a club, there's no money coming in. Now that there's actually could be no football, you know, I fear for the mental health of these players. You know, if you're out of contract, you've no wages coming in, you've no chance to earn a living, and you've no other qualifications. You know what you know, you need to go out and get yourself a job. You might end up retiring for football. You might end up binning football altogether. You know, if you're 3-4 months without a wage coming in to support your family. So I think there's a time bomb here. The PFA are right up here. You know, in terms of the players that are out of contract. You know, I really fear, you know, mentally for them, because I know myself how tough a time it is when you're looking for a club and clubs are looking to sign players, but no clubs are going to be looking to sign players because they don't have any money and they don't know when the season is going to restart. So it's just a horrible situation. And again, that's a situation that we should be concentrating on rather than other things.
Tam McGuire has sent us a message saying, why don't we all wait until the Rangers statement comes out and talk about something else? We're getting this every day. You know, Tam, I can only apologise because basically, Tam, what we try and do every day is, apart from obviously have a wee banter with each other when it allows, and more often than not try and put out little features, quizzes, talk about various people, get special guests on. We try and do that, Tam, but I'm sure you'll accept that when there's news, especially this type of news, I think it's something we have to discuss on a daily basis because it's affecting the whole game. So apologies, Tam, if you get a wee bit, as they say in Glasgow, scunnered by it, but it's affecting everybody. And that's our special guest coming up very shortly, Dick Campbell, because I don't know if you're aware, Roughie, but Dick himself is not the most technically gifted. He's a bit like yourself. I'm not sure what Tam's doing at the moment. Oh, he's there. He's not the most technically gifted person, but we did manage to get him to talk about the situation. So Dick Campbell's coming up there, boss, a little later on. Also, St Mirren released a statement. Give us your thoughts on this, Roughie. St Mirren obviously wanted to, put their tuppence worth in with regards to what's been happening with the Championship. League One and League Two obviously being called, and they've released a statement which basically, as a club, St Mirren has given its full backing to the SPFL's plans to terminate the 2019-20 season. UEFA have now, and I'm just looking here, it says UEFA have now paved the way for the Premiership season to be called without the remaining games being played. We believe these are highly sensible conditions as it's become increasingly likely that no football will be played until next season. Clubs across Scotland need to receive their end of season payments as quickly as possible or suffer serious financial problems. We appreciate there will be an EGM on May 12th to discuss the allegations regarding the previous vote. St Mirren's view is the safety of fans and the survival of Scottish football clubs must be the priority. It's our opinion the Premiership season should be terminated immediately. This will allow for end of season payments to be made and for clubs to start to plan as best they can for next season. Now, I don't know about you, Roughie, but reading between the lines, that's St Mirren saying, look, it's time now to start worrying about the money that the Premiership clubs need.
Yeah, we saw the finance trouble that the lower leagues have got, and I suppose the SPL are no different. The clubs need the money, and it's a lot of money. Most of the clubs are going to get, I think it's 1.1 million, 1.2 upwards to up the top. So it's some money that will keep them going as well. And I'm sure that will grow arms and legs as well. As we were talking about, this is the kind of thing we should be talking about rather than the 12th of May. This is the big one for me, you know. And you have to remind me, Peter, how do you call this league again? Is it the SPFL who vote, and does it need to be 11-1, or is there other things come into play?
No. What happens now is because of the resolution which allowed the SPFL to call the Championship League One and League Two, the SPFL would need to submit a document to UEFA stating that they intend to terminate the season and call Celtic as champions if that's the case, and Hearts to be relegated The other issue of whether the leagues are going to be extended is totally separate. That's got nothing to do with UEFA.
So,
What they have to do, Roughie, when they submit that document, is basically have the facts that the government have said and the medical, chief medical officer has said that football would be impossible to play behind closed doors or indeed with fans in the country past a certain date. Once they submit that to UEFA, then they have the all clear to go and call the league and call Celtic as champions and Hearts to be relegated. The only thing I would say, Ruffy, I don't believe that null and void is on the table. This is a straight, when they call it, then they'll call the champions.
It's May the 25th, I think.
So what we're saying is, Peter, the clubs do not have to be consulted in this. They don't even have to go to a vote. They don't have to, because we hear 3 or 4 teams saying, "Oh, we want to play at the end of the season. We want to wait as long as possible." They don't have an argument in this. Once the SPL have made the decision, that is it.
Well, the SPFL's resolution basically gives them the right now all the Premiership, but May 25th, as Tam's trying to just mention there, is basically UEFA saying to everybody, look, it's not a deadline that if you go past it, you're in big trouble, but this is when we would like everybody to make a decision on their league. And here is the criteria for making that decision. And then that is SPFL in consultation with the government and the chief medical officer to say, is football possible to finish this season? If it's not, they call the league.
Yeah,
is that
they've got to have good reasons, Peter. They've got to have the right reasons. League One done it. The French top league and the league below them done it. They put forward reasons why they didn't think their league should go ahead, and that's similar to SPFL. They've got to give a couple of good reasons why, as you says, it's got to come for the government,
Barry,
chief medical officer. So there'll be no football.
Barry, I think if you're
going to get played,
if you listen to Nicola Sturgeon and the Scottish government every single day, I think it's clear. That there's not going to be any football getting played here.
That's why I'm getting sick of people keep saying, right, we all want football to get played. We all want to watch football. But listen, what's happening in the world? We're listening to these experts on TV. We're not listening to them, what they're saying. This ain't going to go away anytime soon. So the quicker we make a decision to finish, the better.
Yeah, I think wise words from you, Barry. Some of us are listening to it. Roughie, has there been a SPFL expert in Game of Thrones when you've been watching it on television? Or you
no,
just
I haven't. I'm just thinking with all the stick they're getting just now and everything that's about to happen, and then all of a sudden they're going to call the league, and I just can't see that going smoothly either. I don't know the legal ramifications at all, but I just feel that they're in the limelight far too much for my reckoning now.
Yeah, I've just told you what will happen is when they call the league, there'll be another war. We'll all be on here and they'll be going mental when they call the league. That's 4 or 5 weeks down the line, Ruffy. If everybody waits. As Leanne Debster's talking about, I cannot understand. I have a lot of time for Leanne, but I just cannot understand this whole let's drag it out. I would not follow the English Premier League's advice on anything because, quite simply, they are driven by the fear of losing millions upon millions, and they're trying to drag it out as long as they can, which, at the end of the day, I can totally understand the need to try and protect all the deals, not handing back any money. But quite simply, Tam, we know, we've been saying it for weeks on the show, we know not a ball will be kicked. So, are we just going to wait to the end of May before calling this league?
I think it'll be called, Peter, before May the 25th. I think it'll be called. And it's okay for the English Premiership to drag it on. They've got the money, Barry alluded to it earlier. It's 150 grand to get players tested. That's nothing to them, to protect their Sky deal. Up here, that is massive money for even Premiership clubs. In terms of League One, League Two, no chance they can afford that. Down the road, English Championship, Premiership can afford that, no problem. They can throw as much money as they want at testing in terms of getting games on behind closed doors. It's not going to happen up here. It's totally different kettle of fish, totally different financial stratosphere. and we are not going to kick a ball. So I think that the league has got to get called by the latest, May the 25th.
Yeah,
Peter,
I'm always...
Peter,
Yeah,
Peter, can I just say something? It's like your studio's over in Bellshill. You tell everybody to come back, and somebody goes away from the studio feeling unwell, and they pass it on to their family. How are you going to feel? Have you ain't had your staff tested?
It'd be all right if it was Roughie, but anybody else.
No, but seriously, how are you going to feel?
Yeah. And by the way, that's about the only moment of joviality on this programme so far. I'm not very good at reading out the tag names on YouTube. It's slightly different from Facebook. On our YouTube Live and our Facebook, on YouTube you can use different nicknames. Monopoly, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, says Barry Ferguson makes a lot of sense. Jeopardising the health of players and their families isn't viable. It won't happen. And that goes back to making, because quite simply, even if 400 people go into a stadium in the English Premier League, if one suddenly gets it, goes back,
Peter,
after all the you just don't know. You wouldn't want. You're right. It's
Peter, I've already spoken to my general manager, and I says to him, there's no way I'm letting my players come together unless they're tested. And you've come up with this halfway through the programme, how much that costs. There is no chance we would be able to afford that. So there is no way I'm having my players back. Because if some of them go back and pass it on to the family members, how is that going to make you feel if they go in critically ill into hospital? I couldn't live with myself with that.
Yeah. Listen, this next guy coming on, Roughie, we actually get a chance to speak to him on a regular basis, sometimes if we're at after-dinner sporting events. Dick Campbell's good crack, isn't he? I mean, he's good fun, and he's won a lot of titles over the years, you know, as he keeps telling us, but nevertheless, he still won them.
Yeah, he certainly has. And I was just wondering if this was a long edit for you in this one, or was it a safe one? Because I think he holds the record. I think he holds the record of an interview with that many bleeps. Him and John Lambert, well, John was an expert at it, but Dick's not far behind him. So it'll be really interesting to see what he's saying.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought we might need the bleeping machine. But I have to tell you, I mean, if there was a Scotland international team of people who knew sweary words, Tam, Dick Campbell is out there in a league of his own. He could swear for Scotland.
I hope there's an interpreter. I hope there's a translation at the bottom as well, subtitles.
No, he's a brilliant lad, and to be fair to him, go on, Barry, go on.
He phoned me regarding a player. I was interested in one of his players. It was before Christmas, and as he's talking to me, he's like, "Hold on a minute, son." He's in the middle of training, and he's shouting F and C and right, get it, you at the back, get to the front. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy at the wind up here, he was mental on the phone, absolute mental, holding a training session. Well, I was trying to sign a player.
I hope during the interview he doesn't say, "No, you can't."
Yeah, absolutely. It's the
no, he says a few worse words than that. Believe me.
It's a letter. It's just a letter here and there, Roughie. But I have to tell you, he's one of the kindest and funniest guys you're ever likely to meet. I've known him for such a long time as a reporter in the East when he was at Dunfermline with Bert Payton. He was an absolute diamond of a guy. So earlier, I wanted to get the take from the Arbroath manager, Dick Campbell, on the events. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by our Arbroath manager, Dick Campbell. Dick, hopefully you're fit and well. Have you ever witnessed anything like this in your life?
Never. Yeah. No, it's unprecedented. It's been well documented. I often say to myself in life, you can look back and say, right, what did we do before? But it's never happened before. So I find it really strange. Don't know what to do. I'm like everybody else. People are dying every day and it sort of feels in the insignificance of football, but that's what we do, Peter. And it's very important we get to do that as quick as we can.
Yeah, and with that, give me an insight into you as a manager. I understand the difficulties as a person and as a family man. What about as a manager of Arbroath? Have you ever witnessed what's going on? And what do you feel about the conduct of everyone trying to sort out this mess?
Well, it's very similar, I would imagine. You know, we did a virtual Player of the Year last Friday night, and I did a video for them all. And they're trying their heart out. Everybody is. And being a manager of the Arbroath Football Club is, you know, yourself. You were up as a guest of ours at our annual dinner there, and you know they're good people. They're all trying their best. It's very similar, I would have thought, to the wartime where everybody's pulling together and trying to stay safe. I've never been so bored in my life than I am now. But in terms of Arbroath people, I can't believe what they're all doing up there. They're they're fundraising every single day, Peter, to try and raise money so that they look after their players. It just pales into insignificance, the efforts they're making to it. It's not just football, is it? It's like everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key element here. That tells you everything about what football means to people when you get people in Arbroath trying to make sure that the club is financially sound for the future. As a manager, Dick, there's a suggestion of 14, 10, 10, 10, or 3 leagues of 14 to try and get us through the difficult times and get a long-term plan for the benefit of the game. What would you like to see?
Well, I knew that was going to come. It's taken a pandemic to change the top. The top league's not working, Peter. Right, we know that. 14, 10, 10, 10. Before the last reconstruction, there wasn't any playoffs and things like that. So, you know, bringing playoffs into a 14-team league, you know, top and bottom, 2 up, 2 down. So you're looking at more than 30% of the teams will be involved. That interests me a bit. The 16-team league didn't work up in the Premier League. It was boring, but there were no playoffs then. I certainly would move towards 14, 10 and 10. I also feel very strongly that, you know, the Kelties and the Brora have invested money in their football teams and they've been basically told that they're getting into the league. And to tell them they're not getting into the league is not right for me. My preference next year, if it went 14, 14, we would be in the second top league with an absolute chance of going into the Premier League. Because this year we didn't really have any chance. But and it's the same if you went into 14, 10, 10 and 10. So honestly, I might be talking in riddles here. I've not got a clue, Peter. It doesn't. But one thing I think has got to be complimented and commented on is bringing the playoffs and relegation and things like that has been a great thing for Scottish football. So, you know, and I think teams that are investing in their football clubs should be given every opportunity through the pyramid system to get up there. So, you know, I wouldn't bother me either way.
Yeah, and with that in mind, and I think, you know, Kelty and Brora will certainly be heartened by your comments if it was a 14, 10, 10, 10. But right now, Dick, you know, all the clubs are looking and thinking financially, some clubs could fold. Do you have that fear that some clubs, unless we sort ourselves out and stop bickering, some clubs could get to the summer and may no longer exist?
Yeah. I'm probably the best or the most experienced man to talk about that. We'll go into Forfar and they're over 100,000 in debt. We left them with more than that in the bank. We'll go into Arbroath and they're over 100,000 in debt and they went up 3 leagues. There is money to be made in football if you do it properly. And everybody's, you know, this, our growth will survive because we have had a really good season. Probably a lot to do with the Dundee and Dundee United derbies. But even if it didn't have the Dundee United next year, there's still going to be great games with good crowds. I don't, the ones that are really struggling, and I wouldn't like to name them to be honest, but we all know who they are. They might get helped out. They can get some form of grant or some form of loan for the associations. But how long is that going to last? It'll be the same next year. They've just got to cut their cloth to suit. I always remember in my early days, which was a wee while ago, Peter, if you don't mind me saying, right? It was, they were all struggling to make ends meet, and you would say to people, "Oh well, that club's going to go down, and this club's going to go down." This time now, paying the players, and I heard a very good source yesterday saying that they don't think they'll be playing until November. If that's the case, there'll be a lot of people in right big trouble. No any money to pay their players. And also can I say to you, I heard Big Ross Graham, the chairman of Forfar, on the radio a couple of Saturdays ago saying that why does he no sign anybody? If we're not going to play in November, I can't afford to sign anybody, which is right. Technically, you don't need to work that one out, but at the same time, we're paying them. Both are going to have to pay our players till whenever we're going to play the game. And I think we've just got enough because of the season to get by. And there's no doubt, absolutely no doubt. I see the chairman of Stranraer this morning airing his views. He's quite right. There are definitely teams will go down, Peter. I hope not, because don't forget one thing, and I know in Glasgow, Celtic and Rangers are the big thing through there. But this country needs as many teams playing football. It's not all about the big teams all the time. Football is a community-spirited hobby for people that live. See in Arbroath, we don't have hordes of buses going to Rangers and Celtic or Aberdeen. The ones that go to watch football come to watch Arbroath, and I think that should be remembered when the association's making their decisions.
Yeah, and well said on that point. I think a lot of people are forgetting it is for the many rather than for the few. And with that, just one little point, and I know it's a tough question for you to answer, but we are in a situation where the SPFL seems to be at war because of the whole Dundee voting situation and how it transpired. They're having to defend themselves. What advice would you give to everyone when you look at us trying to eventually get back playing football, but we are now in a situation where there are catcalls, accusations of coercing, bullying? What's your impression of it?
I know, but have you seen any proof of all this, Pierre? I'm listening to it and I'm reading about it and this Dundee carry on. Where is the integrity in football? Are you trying to tell me there's people going behind each other's back and trying to put people down and sticking together? The whole issue is very clear to me. Hearts can conceivably stay in the league. So everybody's got a beef. They're a big crowd. All the teams in the Premier League will be wanting Hearts because they've got good support. They're not stupid. And I'll tell you something else, Peter, at this time of year. You know what happens? Some of the chairmen in the Premier League are panicking because, see, at this time of the season, it's all about selling season tickets. I'm telling you now, it's all about selling season tickets. And they'll sell more season tickets if they're going to play against Rangers and Celtic and Hearts than they will without them. I just think it's petty. I think it's stupid. I think they should make a decision. And then let's get together about it. Surely you've got this, Anne Budges is running this this team to try and put it right. How long is it going to take? I just didn't get it. I just don't see it at all. I don't agree with Stranraer getting relegated. I don't agree with Brecon getting relegated. If I was manager of their two clubs, I don't know how you're going to answer that question, Peter. You just got to say to yourself, right, I hope there's nobody in that Premier League dictating to everybody in Scottish football what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, as ever, it's great getting your insight because you're such an experienced manager and one of those managers that's been round the block more than a few times. I might as well finish off by saying, how are the walks going? I know you're going for long walks. The fitness looks as if it's good.
Peter, I'm telling you now, I'm 43 years married. Right? The likelihood of me 44 could be nil. Right? I've never. We're walking hands in hand this morning around the loch. It's very romantic, and I'm sure all she's more interested in the phone call coming for me to get back out training because she's sick looking at me. Got to say to you, I'm missing you all. I've got to say, I miss my wee pint on a Saturday night.
Yeah, well, I have to say to you, Dick, as Liz Taylor once said, yeah.
Peter, can I interrupt you? I've got to say to you, please don't underestimate the season that Arbroath had. We committed, we asked for two things: to stay in the league, and the second thing was to become the best part-time team in Scotland. And we've achieved that. And it's a fascinating thing to finish fifth in the league. I wished we could have played the whole games out because I thought we could have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thank everybody at Arbroath and I thank all my players for they were magnificent and I hope they get acknowledged for that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, everybody's talking about top and bottom and they forget that there were so many things at stake for clubs like yourself in the middle section that could have moved up the way. Listen, I'm going to thank you very much for persevering with us with the technology. You might be 43 years in the game, but you persevered and we got there in the end for the interview. And if you could tell your wife, Liz Taylor said, the success of any marriage is not seeing your partner 6 months of the year, and I think we've got to get you back out to training soon, just to save the marriage.
You must have heard that for Roughie.
Brilliant, Dick Campbell. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you,
Peter. Jurgen Klopp's let himself go.
I kid you not, somebody has just posted Harry Hill let himself go, hasn't he? You can't do an interview without everybody getting battered on this programme. It's brilliant. And Roughie, I'm worried about Dick's marriage. It just doesn't look as if it's got long to go.
Yeah, well, obviously we know what like he is after a game of football on a Saturday if things don't go well, and he tries to keep it in himself, so yeah, it's difficult for everybody, but I don't know about you, but I think, I know it sounds a bit silly now, but I think it's bringing a lot of people a lot closer, that particularly families, that you're doing things you've never used to be doing, and if that's a positive thing to come out of it, all the better.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do like he's really back to what I call the classic Coronation Street days, Tam, where basically he has to have one day where he goes out for a pint with his pals and everybody else stays in the house. It's a Mickey Flanagan one, isn't it? I'm away out for a pint and I'll see you next Tuesday if you're lucky.
I think we all like doing that. I like going for a pint with my pals on a Sunday afternoon, watching the football and that, and I'm missing that as well. And I think Dick's obviously missing a little bit of time away from his missus and a bit of company with his pals. But I'm sure we'll all get back to that soon enough once this epidemic's out the road. Yeah, absolutely. And there again, Tam provides us with a classic headline: East Kilbride man has pals. Another shocker for this programme, I have to tell. He told us he's got a back garden, Barry, which is amazing in the first place. What else have you got up there? Running water? It's all there, isn't it? Oh, at least I'm not off for Bothwell, huh? You forget your roots, son.
By the way, I'll tell you one thing you definitely have got in that house is a tanning machine, because you look as if you're back from Torremolinos every day you come on here. The selfie light is definitely doing its job, honestly. It's been a brilliant purchase for the wife. That selfie light. Yeah, absolutely. Here's a little point before we go, lads. Couple little things. Great to hear from Dick Campbell. I noticed Harry Redknapp saying that he thinks Steven Gerrard is going to go on to be a top manager. Now, the reason why I thought this was interesting, I've got a lot of time for Harry. I think he's a great listen. I remember, I don't. You guys will all have seen the video, Barry, about Harry Redknapp at a West Ham Q&A with the fans, and basically somebody questioned what Frank Lampard should be in ahead of.
Mm-hmm.
And he nailed it and said he'll be a top player. So Harry knows his stuff, and he thinks Steven Gerrard will go on to be a top manager. Really nice words about the Rangers manager. My only concern with it, Barry, is it's such a big job that sometimes Rangers and Celtic, if you don't make a success of it, it can break you.
Yeah, Peter, I think it takes a lot of balls to take that sort of job that Gerrard took. I mean, he was involved with under-18s, I think, at Liverpool. And also Rangers took a gamble. But I think in time, I like the way he comes across. I like the way he speaks. He's obviously got demands. Look, he's not going to have the amount of money he would like. But I think he's progressing pretty well. And I think at one stage he'll become a top manager. He's still only young, Peter. You've got to remember that. And he's under a lot of pressure up here. He's probably not seen this ever before. You know what, we all know what the West of Scotland's like. It's either Celtic or Rangers. If you draw, it's a nightmare. Basically, you've got to get 3 points on a Saturday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday whenever you play the game. So I think in general he has done a good job, and I think in time he will become a top manager.
Barry, can I ask you a question? I agree with you. I think Gerrard will become a top manager. You obviously went into management with Clyde. Now you're at Kelty Hearts. Was it a massive learning curve for you at Clyde? Do you think you're a better manager now for the mistakes you maybe made or learned, stuff you learned now at Kelty Hearts? Do you think Gerrard would be the same at his next club?
Yep, definitely, Tam. I made a lot of mistakes in the 3 years I was there. And you take a bit of time out. I went and done a few club visits and spoke to different coaches and managers, and my way of managing now is totally different from the way it was 3 years ago. So no, definitely you learn with experience, and hopefully in time you can progress and go higher each year. So this year was great for me. It's my first trophy as a manager, and hopefully more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've got to cherish these days, Roughie, just hanging about with Barry, because I think over the next few years when he goes on to bigger and better things, we won't be able to see him unless we do some kind of video call, Roughie. Is that fair? I think our days with hanging about are gone.
Yeah, it's the old sort of hanging on to the shirt tail, isn't it? And see whether he drops you or lets you keep hanging on to him. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
No, there's no way. Hey, I'm here. Yeah. I'm here for the long haul.
Was that a real title? Was that a real title you won or a tainted one?
I knew you were going to come up with this.
Don't bite, Barry. Don't bite.
I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer it.
But the other thing I was going to hear such a noise.
Listen, can I say one thing? I was geared up for the best scenario or the worst scenario. So the best scenario was obviously getting awarded it. But like everybody, I wanted to finish it on the park, Peter. I wanted to do it properly. 5 games to go. But listen, we had a decent season. And I think if you ask any managers or players in the league, I think most of them would say we deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, week in, week out, you come into the studio on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. There's been some real battles going on. We've been following you all the way, and great setup at Kelty. You've been out there, Roughie. Obviously, you wouldn't have gone out there under any other circumstances other than Kelty paying you to speak there. But the other thing I was going to say to you is, Tam, Barry's built up a team there of trusted people who are good at their jobs. I know for Barry, that you wouldn't hire anybody that basically was on the same WhatsApp group as you, just kind of a sucking up to you. I know you're looking for people who really can do a job for you. That's all I'm saying to you, Barry.
Listen, Tam speaks sense. Tam speaks sense. That's all I'm saying.
I'm the voice. I'm the voice of Kelty on social media. I'm doing his bidding. I better get a gig out of this.
There's your new striking coach, Roughie. He's been sucking up to Barry on the WhatsApp. It is nauseating. Honestly, nauseating. There's no chance
Listen,
of
it's
doing
only
it.
fairness. The SPFL keep going on about fairness. It's only fair if you win your league, you get the chance to get promoted. And do you know what? See if it doesn't happen. See the pyramid system in Scotland.
Or,
a total waste of time.
or be named champions.
Just you worry about getting relegated.
By the way, the programme's now turned into some of the nonsense we're getting on Facebook and YouTube. You're just throwing insults at each other.
Peter,
yeah.
Peter, can I just say something? When Roughie went back as a director, what league position were Partick in? Mid-table?
Well, they were right now. They weren't in trouble.
Yep.
They were not in trouble.
Exactly.
And
Since he came back in and started taking money out of the club, they've went downhill.
Yeah, Roughie. Yeah. By the way, I didn't think Barry was going to bite, but boy, he did. He's straight in there. Just further on the screen. Anyway, apart from anything else, thank you very much to everybody who's been on Facebook. If you do like our content, then like, share, and follow. We're not finished just yet. We've just got a couple of things, and then we are off to let you all go for your dinner. But this is, every now and then we like to. Shut it, Roughie. It's only a couple of minutes.
Just keep my apple tart warm. I'll be there in a minute. Really sweet.
Shut up. Anyway, apart from anything else, we do like to pay tribute to footballers from all over the place. And I'll tell you, Tam, how mad it is, right? This is how mad this programme is. I mean, when you lived, you know about it, you lived in Edinburgh, a slightly different dynamic in Edinburgh, but a guy was absolutely roasting me a couple of days ago because he thought it was a long interview with Harold Bratback. And then he said, I'm going to time the interview with Kevin Thompson. I mean, honestly, this is the level. This is it. This is the level of people actually timing the Kevin Thompson interview, which, may I add, because I know Kevin, he's a good lad. It was great, but it was a couple of minutes longer. And I think it kept him at bay. You know, they're actually measuring the interviews between former Celtic or Rangers players or current players that we've got. The place has gone mad. But one of the things I would like is, a year ago, we paid tribute to the sad loss of Billy McNeil. And obviously we had something on last week on the programme on that. And sadly today, again, it's hard to believe that time has passed. And the guy who scored one of the most important goals ever in Celtic's history, a year ago, Stevie Chalmers passed away. Quiet, unassuming, and the scorer of Celtic's greatest ever goal, Roughie, Stevie Chalmers, a man again gone too soon.
Yeah, again, in football we use the statement, a gentleman through and through. Stevie Chalmers did everything like that. I had the privilege. He came to Partick Thistle for a couple of years, and he was an absolute gem for all the younger players. They obviously looked up to him, to everything he'd done in the game. And I think we all know on record, I think him and wee Bobby Lennox were joined at the hip everywhere. They went together, golf and everything. But no, an absolute pleasure to have known the guy. And I think anybody else who's come into his company would say the exact same.
And Barry, you'll appreciate this line. This is obviously something that time and again Stevie Chalmers was asked about, the goal that he scored against Inter Milan. And he said, we practiced that type of move with something that we practiced. And with greatness, comes repetition, working at your trade, working at it, putting in the hours. People think you're just in the right place at the right time. We practiced it, was just coming up of that.
Yeah, the guys will tell you if you work on something in training and it comes off, you're absolutely delighted. Whether you're a player or the coaching staff or the manager, and as the guys will say as well, you work in so many different things on the training field, and when they do come off, it's a great feeling on the pitch.
Okay, just before we go, lads, because obviously we don't want the apple tart to be burnt. So every now and then, we've all been watching box sets. We might as well let everybody get a little sense of something so that we're delighted you're watching our show, but we want to suggest something else to them. Now, I don't know about you, Roughie. I've just finished Gangs of London, which was just outrageous, brilliant. But I'm on something now which I think is sensational, and I can't get enough of it. The Last Dance. Have you got into that yet? Which is basically the story of the final season of Michael Jordan at the Chicago Bulls. Even if you don't like basketball, it is brilliant. Have you seen it?
No, I have not. That's the first one that I've heard of it, to tell you the truth. And he was a fantastic player, and I believe away from basketball as well, he was very high profile and everything he done. So yeah, that might be an interesting one.
Yeah.
I don't want to put anybody off Vandervalk. What a load of rubbish.
Barry Norman there.
It's supposed to be Holland their own
Barry Norman.
Listen, just out of curiosity, Roughie, before Barry speaks on this, can you tell me, is the Van der Valk theme the same as the one from the 60s?
Yes, it is, believe it or not, yeah, but it's terrible. It's terrible,
Is it?
honestly. It's shocking.
Barry Ferguson.
Started Gangs of London last night. Started it last night.
You like it?
Some scenes in it. Oh my God!
It's not. It's not for the kids.
No, love it.
Yep.
No, it's not.
Have you seen Ozark?
Yeah, we're into that. We're on to season 2.
Ozark's fantastic. Afterlife is fantastic. Gangs of London. I've done the first 2 episodes of that.
I finished the 3rd episode last night. Unbelievable. Some
and of course,
vicious scenes.
It's not.
I know why.
It's absolutely, it's mental, and that's just some of the women in it. They're tough. I would just like to say thank you to everyone, basically for their commitment to us. Afterlife is brilliant too, Tam. Somebody's just agreed with you, Callum. Thanks, Callum Reynolds. He agrees with you. I think it's brilliant. Ricky Gervais is a genius. Just when we finish, obviously, at the top of the show, we gave you the headlines. Murdo McLennan has come out with a statement. We read you, of course, another statement coming out from Neil Doncaster, basically, again, telling Rangers if they have evidence of wrongdoing, produce the evidence. And we've also heard from Dick Campbell on a one-to-one. Every day on the show, we try to bring you a special guest. We do our absolute best with that. I'll try and give you the quiz answer before we go off, because I can't remember what the quiz question was or what the answer was, but I know my producer will text me the answer in about 1.2 seconds. But if you do get a chance, with the likes of Tam, you can see Barry, and of course Roughie and myself and Hugh McDonald, Alison McConnell, Darren Jackson, all of the guests on the show as well. All you have to do is like, share and follow us on Facebook. We'd be delighted if you could do that for us, because we want to build this ever-growing football family. And if you're on YouTube, then do what we told Roughie to do, which is basically you just need to subscribe. And when you subscribe, you'll get all the notifications. But if you go on to your Sky box, if you've got Sky, just go down to apps, hit the apps, you'll see YouTube. You click on YouTube and you get it on your telly. And it's great, Roughie, because you get it on the big screen. And Barry's got about a 90-inch screen in one of his rooms.
Yeah, unfortunately, can't do it when we're live here, which is great. But I can imagine on the telly it'll be absolutely fantastic. You know, you better see me bigger than what I am anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the best I've seen Peter
okay.
Lingo. He's back.
I was just in there, just checking for the. Never mind, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, 2017 was the answer.
When Peter was saying there, when he does the interviews, he has to watch, you know, the timing of the interviews and that, because people come to some conclusions. It probably also works with whatever colour you're wearing.
Now, I knew you were going to say that. You know what?
I'm just throwing it. Because
a red rag to a bull.
You do have blue on quite a lot. You have blue on. I don't want people coming to conclusions because the last 3 nights you've had blue on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've just covered it for you.
I know. I thought Ferguson would bring it up, but no, it's you of all people. You know, it's the first time I've put a green top on in about.
I'm just explaining to everybody that it's just the first.
It's a nice brand, but not the right colour.
You know, I knew you were.
If Barry would come on Friday with a green top on, that would back that up, wouldn't it?
Yep.
By the way, can I just say to you right now, there's more chance of flying over there.
Peter, was that the top you done when you were doing the Larson commentary in Boa Vista?
No, it
was there hoops in it?
That was number 7 away top. To be fair to you. Anyway, hey, can I just say something? You weren't saying Barry and Bob Malcolm were wearing the helicopters changing direction tops. You remember those T-shirts, Baz?
I remember it. Yep. I might wear that on Friday. There you go.
The helicopter got that T-shirt, bloody hell. Anyway, apart from anything else, and us battering each other on here for the colour of our tops, thanks to Roughie, thanks to Tam McManus, as ever. Some people, the amount of comments we've had from people who feel as if Tam McManus is at a wall ready for a firing squad is unbelievable. But that's just the way. That's the way Tam comes on.
The next time he's on, he'll have the police numbers up in front of him.
He looks like a criminal. He's unbelievable.
What is up with Roughie? He's getting everybody a bit.
Oh, he's giving everybody.
He's on the gin.
Incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
He must be.
Anyway, apart from anything else, from everybody here, thanks for joining us.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.